Imagine waking up on a perfect summer morning. The date is the 6th of August 1945. You're in Hiroshima, Japan, a city of 350,000 people who have somehow survived 3 years of total war. Factories hum, school kids head to class, mothers prepare rice. The war feels far away until 8:15 a.m. In a single heartbeat, everything vanishes. Not destroyed, vanished. A flash brighter than the sun, a blast wave hotter than the surface of the sun, a mushroom cloud that climbs 10 miles into the sky. By nightfall, 70,000 human beings are dead. By the end of the year, another 70,000 will follow from injuries and radiation no doctor on Earth had ever seen. But here's the part they never taught you in school. This wasn't just the bomb. This was the climax of a secret race that nearly killed the scientists who built it, and the terrifying reason the target was Hiroshima instead of Tokyo or Kyoto. Stick with me, because what happened that morning still echoes in every nuclear headline you read today. Let's go back, way back. By 1945, Japan was a nation that had already rewritten the rules of war. They attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941 without warning. They conquered half of Asia in months. Their soldiers were told surrender was the ultimate shame, so they fought to the last man on every island the Americans tried to take. Iwo Jima, Okinawa. The body count was insane. American generals were staring at the invasion plans for mainland Japan, Operation Downfall. Estimated cost? Up to times 1 million times American casualties. And that's not even counting the millions of Japanese civilians ordered by their own government to fight with bamboo spears and kitchen knives. The firebombing of Tokyo in March 1945 had already killed more people in one night than the atomic bomb would in Hiroshima, but Japan still wouldn't surrender. In 1942, President Franklin Roosevelt greenlit the most expensive secret project in human history, the Manhattan Project. Cost? $2 billion. That's about 30 billion today. The goal? Beat the Nazis to the atomic bomb. Because intelligence said Hitler was trying to. Oppenheimer gathered the greatest scientific minds on the planet in the middle of the New Mexico desert, Los Alamos. They worked in total secrecy. Wives didn't even know what their husbands were building. The pressure was crushing. Some scientists had nervous breakdowns. One top mathematician actually bet his life savings that the bomb would fizzle. The 16th of July, 1945. The Trinity test. The first atomic explosion in history. Oppenheimer watched the fireball and whispered lines from the Bhagavad Gita. "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." He later said he knew the world would never be the same. But here's the twist nobody talks about. By the time Trinity succeeded, the Nazis had already surrendered. Germany was out of the war. The bomb that was meant to stop Hitler was now aimed at Japan. President Harry Truman, who had only been in office a few months after Roosevelt died, faced an impossible choice: invade Japan and lose hundreds of thousands of young American boys, or drop a weapon so terrible it might force surrender in days. The target list was drawn up in secret. Kyoto was scratched because it was too culturally important. Tokyo was already burned to the ground. Hiroshima? Perfect. It was a major military headquarters, untouched by conventional bombing, surrounded by hills that would trap the blast and maximize damage. A cruel kind of logic. The crew chosen for the mission? The 509th Composite Group, handpicked. Their commander, Colonel Paul Tibbets, had named the B-29 bomber times Enola Gay times after his own mother. A small-town southern woman who had no idea she'd be immortalized in the most controversial flight in history. The 5th of August, 1945, Tinian Island, Pacific. The bomb, nicknamed Little Boy, was a 10-foot long uranium gun-type device. Only one had ever been built. If it failed, there was no backup. The scientists literally wired it by hand on the runway while the crew watched. Takeoff at 2:45 a.m. The crew was tense. They had cyanide pills in case they were shot down. Better dead than captured by the Japanese. Over the Pacific, they practiced the tricky 155-degree turn they'd have to make after dropping the bomb, or the shockwave would destroy their own plane. At 7 a.m., the weather plane above Hiroshima radioed, "Clear skies, perfect." 8:15 a.m., the bomb bay doors opened. Little Boy fell. A small parachute slowed its descent so the plane could escape. 43 seconds later, the sky split open. A 1.5 kiloton explosion. Temperatures at the hypocenter reached 5,432 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt steel and vaporize human bodies instantly. People 1,000 feet away were turned into shadows burned onto walls. A woman's kimono pattern was seared into her skin. A man on a bridge left nothing but his shadow. The blast wave traveled at 980 feet per second. It flattened 70% of the city in seconds. Wooden houses simply exploded into kindling. Then came the firestorm, a hurricane of flames that sucked oxygen out of the air and roasted people alive as they tried to reach the rivers. Listen to this survivor account that still haunts historians. A 6-year-old girl named Tomoko was playing outside when the flash hit. Her mother found her later, skin hanging off in sheets, begging for water. She died days later. Or Dr. Michihiko Hachiya, a physician who survived inside a concrete building. He crawled out to find his hospital gone. People walked past him like ghosts, their hair burned off, clothes in tatters, skin peeling. One man carried his own eyeball in his hand. But here's the part that still gives scientists chills. The radiation, invisible, odorless. For the first time in history, people died not from the blast or fire, but from something their own bodies could no longer fight. Hair fell out, gums bled, blood poured from every orifice. Doctors called it atomic bomb disease. They had no idea how to treat it. By the end of 1945, the death toll reached nearly 140,000 inches. Hiroshima alone. 3 days later, another bomb fell on Nagasaki. Japan finally surrendered on August 15. The emperor's voice, never before heard by his people, crackled over the radio. The war situation has developed, not necessarily to Japan's advantage, a masterpiece of understatement. But the story doesn't end with surrender. The survivors, the Hibakusha, became living proof of humanity's new power. Many were shunned. Employers wouldn't hire them. Families worried their children would be born deformed. Some Hibakusha hid their status for decades. One of the most famous? Sadako Sasaki. She was 2 years old when the bomb fell. She survived, only to develop leukemia at age 11. In the hospital, she folded 1,000 paper cranes, believing the legend that it would grant her a wish. She died before finishing. Her classmates completed them. Today, thousands of cranes arrive at Hiroshima's Children's Peace Monument every year. Now the big question every documentary has to ask, was it worth it? Some historians say yes. The bombs ended a war that might have dragged on for another year, saving millions of lives on both sides. Japan's own records show their military was preparing a final suicidal defense. Others call it a war crime. The bombs targeted civilians. The radiation effects were unknown, and some argue Japan was already on the verge of collapse. The Soviet invasion of Manchuria mattered more than the bombs. Oppenheimer himself spent the rest of his life regretting it. He lost his security clearance during the Red Scare because he opposed the hydrogen bomb. On his deathbed, he reportedly told a friend he had blood on his hands. Today, Hiroshima is a thriving city of hope. The atomic bomb dome stands as a UNESCO site, a twisted skeleton that refuses to fall. Every August 6 at 8:15 a.m., the peace bell rings. Lanterns float down the river carrying the names of the dead. But the real legacy isn't just in Japan. It's in every nuclear treaty, every missile silo, every leader who has to decide whether to push the button. We built something that can end civilization in hours, and we've spent 80 years trying not to use it again. The morning the sky fell over Hiroshima didn't just end World War II. It started the nuclear age, an age where one mistake, one madman, one miscalculation could finish what that single bomb began. So the next time you hear about nuclear tensions anywhere in the world, remember the children of Hiroshima. Remember the scientists who cried after Trinity. Remember that humanity crossed a line in 1945 that we can never uncross. We can only choose, every single day, never to cross it again.